when it comes to leadership and really developing behavioral change, I look for an energy fit. I look for people that have, the right energy to be able to come in and navigate and facilitate difficult and uncomfortable conversations. I'm looking for a company and individuals who are really passionate about understanding how Flock work. Flock has a very unique culture and a way of working. We're not just a company that says we're inclusive, we live and breathe it. And those companies that are live and breathe inclusivity will know that in itself comes with challenges, because we are all a very unique mixture of different things, right? We're all unique in our skills, we're unique in our personalities and our backgrounds. We're unique in how we handle stress. We are unique in what makes us comfortable in terms of our work patterns. So to find a company that we can partner with that understands our culture at Flock, and has the right energy and has the right approach and techniques and experience, for me it doesn't come around very often. I love the Brave program because it's almost like it's tailored to the needs of what we needed, right? So it had a very good combination, a very good balance of group work, individual work. The reinforcement is what I like. So I'll call out a specific example, specific to me in developing my ability to speak up a little bit often. And Ree, I don't know if you remember that moment where we were practicing out an exercise and I started to drift back into my habitual way of handling things and just thinking in my mind and not saying anything. And you were there and you had the ability to reinforce it. And that's something that's difficult when you're going into a training program and then you come out again. So having practical sessions where you were observing and you were able to point out, give me direct feedback in the moment. You're allowing me time to reflect and think about, all right, if you'd handled this that way, what would the outcome would have been different? All of that, whilst making me feel that you truly understood me, you truly understood the leadership team, and you truly understood where Flock was trying to get to, is a big complexity. But your techniques and the ability to be able to do that so quickly during the program is what not only attracted me to you both as a company, but also what made the program very successful in its outcome. So it really taught me to personally and professionally, fight through some of the boundaries. Again, sometimes I get very overwhelmed when other people are talking. And, I definitely went through a period where it was almost like, no one's allowing me to speak, right? And the accountability was on others. But again, during this program, it gave me that voice. It gave me the opportunity to find my voice, understand and have an appreciation for why people think and speak differently. So, understand why people would say exactly what comes to mind really quickly, and really embrace that and think that. But actually, once that idea is out and on the table, my skill can then come in and translate that into something else. So I apply that regularly. I use the framework questions that are given as part of the program. I have the notebook. I look back on a weekly basis to reinforce that, because part of behavioral change and growth is not just going through a one-off program and knowing. You have to have that self-commitment, you have to have that self-accountability to keep pushing yourself through, especially when it's habitual and you need to break through those habits. And I'm still doing that. And now, as I said, I've got my Brave Cup and I continue to do that as I go forward. I think when I look back, we really brought you in just after the COVID period. And funny enough, having joined Flock in 2019, joining a new leadership team, it was relatively new. And COVID definitely threw us in a direction where we had to be quite tactical, which focus on what was directly in front of us. But then as that started to become the new norm, it allowed us to be more open-minded about the future. And I knew that we were a newly formed leadership team, but we had changed as individuals. We didn't really know how we worked with each other. We then had the stress of COVID. We had personal stresses underneath that. We had a very vulnerable and fragile team who were also going through the anxiety. And through my conversations with you, I wanted us to look at the opportunities in that and bring us closer together to make sure that we were continuing in our journey as Flock to scale and grow and be successful. It was, immediately after the program, there was a real understanding in how the behaviors that translated in the day-to-day connected back to the individual. We didn't have context into why, certain people worked the way that they did, but I think that added real context and gave us the ability to connect at that level. It also allowed us to really understand our areas of vulnerability and start putting in place some self-accountability to make those changes. As a collective, the most important thing was adding in that structure for us to make decisions, for that structure for us to work out when things weren't working, that structure to work out when we needed a timeout and actually a topic was going round in circles, which so often happens in organizations and definitely amongst leadership teams. But it takes a certain amount of strength to stand up and say, let's just take a break and come back to this topic or tackle this topic differently. Yeah, I mean, as a business, as you've said, we've grown so big. So we've grown over 150%, which is massive. And when I look back at the root cause of that, it is because we were able to think differently. And so the ability for people who wouldn't traditionally speak up to speak up gives a different perspective on decisions and discussions. And that in itself is powerful. As 1/4 of the leadership team, I bring to the table my experience, my expertise, and my contribution. And that has allowed us to flourish and really move forward. So thrive as we move forward, because when you're needing to tackle challenges and decisions and opportunities on a day-by-day basis as a leadership team, you need to embrace different perspectives. You need to think differently about how you're going to tackle things and bring innovation and creativity to the table. You need those that wouldn't traditionally speak up to say what they can bring to the table. And you need those that would normally speak up and would traditionally be the people to lead the front to take a step back sometimes and listen. And this program teaches you that without taking personal offense, and actually seeing that those changing behaviors can really contribute towards the greater good. That has absolutely contributed to our company being able to scale effectively in the last 12 to 18 months, over 150% growth.